وحقق إذا رمت شيئا ولا تسمن بوهمك ذات الورم.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The seventh worry that the Shaykh mentions, هموم حفظه العلم وفهمه. The worry of memorizing knowledge and understanding knowledge. It is known that for a person to truly be strong in his knowledge, he has to have two things: memorization and understanding, both of them. And it becomes difficult, and a student starts to become worried, and he asks himself, what do I study? What do I memorize? And what are the books I have to study and understand and not memorize? And which ones do I memorize and truly understand? So many questions, and they're confused. So the way and how a person can remove this worry is by three principles. The first is knowing which books to memorize. Secondly, knowing which books are to be studied. And thirdly, knowing how to keep that memorization and understanding with a person. So as for the first principle, which is knowing which books to memorize, then it does differ sometimes from teacher to teacher. But for example, now you can get the mutun of Shaykh Muhammad Huzaifah, for example. He has all the mutun ready for you to memorize, and he's got stages. So for example, you can just follow that. You know which books to memorize, and you just follow that methodology which the Shaykh has already laid out for you. The second principle was in regards to which books to understand. Now generally the ones that you memorize, you also have to understand them. And in each science there are other books also that you have to understand, and they are generally the books which the Mashayikh are teaching all the time. The books that the Mashayikh, you see lessons constantly going on regarding these lessons, whether it's the same Shaykh teaching it a number of times or different Mashayikh teaching it. Generally they are the books which should be understood. Hence they are taking their time out to teach these books. And as for knowing the way of how to retain that memorization and understanding, then it is by constant mudhakara, revision. And it's something very, very important that students of knowledge lack: revision. We have been commanded to revise the Quran so that the Quran does not leave us, as mentioned in some ahadith. Then what about the rest of the sciences? Imam al-Zuhri, he says, rahimahullah, إِنَّمَا يُذْهِبُ الْعِلْمِ النِّسْيَانِ وَتَرْكُ الْمُذَاكَرَةِ. That what causes knowledge to be lost is forgetfulness. Sometimes a person can just forget. And secondly, تَرْكُ الْمُذَاكَرَةِ, that you leave off revising. And by not revising, you will not fulfill this third principle, which is knowing how to retain that information. So these three principles: firstly, knowing what to memorize, and I've mentioned to you the syllabus of Shaykh Qasim. Secondly, knowing what to study, and like I said, these are the books that are normally taught all the time. And likewise, if you found a teacher, like we mentioned in the previous principles, then you can just ask your teacher. And thirdly, how to attain that information, which is by constant revision.